Welcome to Color Me Happy podcast. My name is Brandy Hofer. Thank you so much for being here today. I sure do appreciate your time. I have had quite the week. I actually went in for minor surgery on Monday. Nothing serious. Nothing serious at all. Just another sacrifice that we do for our children, I guess. I had a really small umbilical hernia in my last pregnancy with Teddy, and I just got it fixed up. So no big deal. Still an annoying kind of 6-week recovery. And let me tell you, it is pure torture. I mean, I knew I did a lot in a day, but witnessing down below the struggle of everyone else when I'm not there is like slow torture. And I know I'm supposed to not move and heal, but it's so hard. So now I got dressed and clearly downstairs in the studio and podcasting, and I went on a walk with Teddy and my husband because he is home helping, and it felt so good. As long as I don't tackle stuff and move too early and affect the long-term healing process of this whole thing, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm in good health, and I want to talk about that actually today. I want to talk about, even though, and this is why I think I have just a little bit of trouble with just being still at all and or focusing. However, I laid there, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's Thursday. So I didn't make it very long, that's for sure. And Grey's Anatomy got boring. Not boring, it's amazing. But I got bored of just watching Grey's Anatomy and typing on my computer. But it really made me think, and I especially thought while I was walking very slowly, don't worry, with cleated boots so I don't slip, in the beautiful, beautiful winter wonderland we have going on right now. There's frost everywhere. It's like weighing down the trees, and I think it's the most I've ever seen in my whole entire life. And the balance of a day, I felt like I was going just insane in my mind. And it's so important for not only me, but for you as well, to practice that everyday routine of self-care. And it's not just like, I'm feeling really crappy, so now I'll put a Band-Aid on it. That's too late. It has to be worked into your daily routine. And that goes along with moving your body. I can't even really move right now, but I went outside on a slow walk, and it changed my whole day. And it changed my whole husband's day, and my whole husband. Not just half of him, but the whole of him. And it changed Teddy, his behavior, and he's yelling at me right now. Hold on. He was mad because I ate the leftover sushi in the fridge last night. Okay. Mom is not cooking right now. So anyway, I know it's hard the hardest part is getting dressed, and that is a chapter in my book. The hardest part is getting dressed no matter what you're doing. You're getting ready for work, you're getting ready to work out. The hardest part, I promise, is getting dressed and getting to wherever you're going to do that or out the door. Same with school in the mornings. If you have kids, mornings are colossal undertakings in such a short amount of time, getting everyone out. So I talk about that so much in my book, and seeing your everyday ordinary as extraordinary. There are just a few easy small things that you can do to just have a good day. And trust me, once you start doing the everyday things, you'll crave them more and more, and it'll just become this habit routine that you depend on to be the best possible person. And I know I was forced to rest, but I didn't feel like my best possible person. I felt like I was going out of my mind, and it just reinforced how much I depend on that routine, not only for my physical health, but for my mental health. And I had dreams last night. It was just like everything that had weighed on me for the last few years came crashing down in all my inhibitions. It was oh, hey, you have your guard down. You're not like getting outside. You're not taking care of yourself, even though I have to rest. It was like, it was so heavy. And I was like, I have to get outside. I have to get outside, even if it's just like a slow hobble. And I think it will just help with my healing process, just a morning walk or doing morning pages or anything like that. All those little things. Self-care is number one. Okay, so for the podcast this week, our theme is fear is going to be a player in your life, but you get to decide how much. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future. But all there will ever be is what's happening here in the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear. Jim Carrey. I love to quote Jim Carrey. If you just watch some of his interviews, like, he is one amazing person, and he's like a master manifester, and he has some crazy stories, and just like no one's done it like, well, he has, because everyone's unique, and no one will do things like you do because you're special and you're you. And yeah, dive in. Sometimes you just have to. It's scary or maybe even unimaginable. But what if you didn't and you lived your life thinking, what if? What can you live with and what can you live without? That is what you have to ask yourself. You have the capabilities and strength to do whatever it is that gets you to haul your hiney out of bed in the morning. And don't just do it with bells on. Like I said, the hardest part will always be getting dressed. And the next chapter to follow that in our book actually is don't just get dressed. Put on the clothes. Gosh. Don't just get dressed. I'll get this. Don't just get dressed. Put on the costume and play the part. And in that chapter, I talked about, I wasn't at like this point in my life that I was, hoping to land in. And I felt like I deserved to, and here's the whole story as short as I can tell it. I felt like when I got my BFA, my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, that I would just come home and like jobs would be there waiting, or a job, or like a career in the arts, or having a degree meant something. And that like I deserved it, like it was owed to me or something. And when I got home, my like 2 days later of being home, because my mom didn't have a lot of money, and I was living with her, and she's like, okay, you got to go get a job. And I was like, well, where? I don't want to serve again. I've already served since I was 18 years old, and I don't want to anymore. I thought like paying and getting a university degree thought I meant I didn't have to be in the hospitality industry anymore. And she's like, well, sorry, just my mom's the kind of person where like she says something, you have to listen. I don't know if you all have parents like that, but basically it's her way or the highway, and that was that. And it was pointless to argue because you would lose. And I'm arguably like that a little bit. However, I can get my way out of a corner, fight my way tooth and nail. But that's besides the point. I went and got a job 2 hours later, because that's the amazing community we have. And I literally walked into my first choice restaurant and met Maria, my longtime friend, and I worked for a Greek family for many years. However, I still had that giant university chip on my shoulder where I thought I was too good to be there. So I'm super embarrassed. Like, obviously, in hindsight, it led me to meeting so many beautiful people and having so many beautiful opportunities. However, at the time, I was just, an asshat about just being back in that industry and, working 12, 14-hour days for someone else, blah, blah, blah. And I was a jerk. And I showed up like very last minute, like 3 minutes before my shift, left the earliest, didn't really try, just was like coasting through. So something, and I'm going to try to make this story way shorter because I'm already hitting 10 minutes on my intro. So yeah, I noticed that the senior servers were making like mad money, and I was like, oh, okay. So what are they doing differently? Well, they're coming half an hour early and they're staying the longest, till the end, actually. And it should have occurred to me way sooner than it did. I'm talking like 1.5, 2 years here of me at this job. Takes me a while to learn. Anyway, I figured it out. I put on my big person pants, and I started showing up half an hour early, being the most organized, everything, learning all there is I could learn, and not just getting dressed, but putting on the costume and playing the part. So at that time, like feather earrings and scarves, and I mean, we had uniforms, so they at least let us like, dress up a little bit and be ourselves. So I would start wearing really nice things, and I felt so good. And when I felt good about myself, and once I showed up, even if I didn't really want to, I started having fun like 15 minutes into my shift, talking to customers, interacting with staff, having just a genuinely good time. And of course, when you're in the hospitality industry, it fully depends on your attitude and your ambition and, upselling and all of that stuff. And I can tell you that shift was insanely, it was just insane. It made such an epic difference in my overall life, and obviously in my financial life as well. I had saved up enough money. I paid off my student loans. I was still making art, so all the money I made from my artwork went straight to my student loans, and then all the extra, I actually put a down payment on my very first house. So like I said, this shit works. Don't be an asshat. Don't just get dressed. Put on the costume and play the part. And I don't know, I just can't explain it, but fear just kind of melts to the wayside, and you're grateful for the path that you're on, because it's going to lead you somewhere. It's going to lead you somewhere extraordinary. And we don't always know what that is or what that means. So enjoy this conversation. Thank you so much for being here. I sure do appreciate your time, and enjoy this podcast with my beautiful friend from way across the world. And I can't wait to announce our collaboration for 2024. For this episode, actually, we chat about finding women in your community and finding one another to support and lean on. And that is so important. But also, first you have to find yourself and be able to take care of yourself before you start building on that community and reaching out. But the funny thing is, it's funny that I say that because it's not all the way true. I feel like sometimes we have reached a point in our lives where we need support to pull us out of a hole, and or having that support in place just in case we do trip and fall into a hole. And there is so much to take away from this episode with this extraordinary woman who I've connected with, again, from all across to the other side of the world. I would love to get closer to her, but it sounds hard. The flight sounds hard, as we discuss in this episode. But maybe I'll do it. Maybe we'll stretch it out into like a few days trip, because I have all the money in the world, right? I feel like if you put your mind on something long enough and you have enough time, you'll find the means to do it. So enjoy this beautiful, encouraging, empowering chat.
Same. Welcome, Valentine, back to our podcast. We didn't release the first one because we had secrets in the first one, and you weren't feeling well that day. So
True.
I wanted your full personality because it's such a big, amazing, beautiful personality, and you light up a space. So you were super sick, and you did really well considering that. But what I brought Valentine on for is creating opportunities for women and networking, which you do so well.
As do you.
I'm okay at it, but you're really really good at it. So I want to talk about where that began for you, because I know it started with a really big shift and move in your life.
Yeah, actually, it started even earlier. It started when I was really, really young and I was always sleeping. My sleep shirt was a women's network shirt. How funny is that?
Amazing.
And I don't know why, but I always had this really strong connection to that, this idea, that these feminist thoughts, and people around me who were even my mom used to attend women's network events, which is why I had that wonderful shirt. And even though she was European, she'd moved to the US, and it was all very different for her. She was still trying to kind of get in touch and connect with other women, and that was something I saw from a really early age, the power that those communities can really have, and even more so the idea that actually it's something special. It's not common, which is so odd. Why isn't that the norm? Why
Mm-hmm.
isn't that the norm? And I
Mm-hmm.
remember thinking, this is so strange. And maybe that's why later in life I kind of came back around to say, let's, try to do my tiny little part to help to create that norm, because it's so important to me. And as you said, that shift when I became a mom, oh, it was everything. I needed community around me. I was literally isolated in this village in the Czech Republic. I had lived in many countries around the world and ended up here, met my husband, had children. But I definitely at that point, I did not speak Czech. It's very hard. It's a very challenging language, Slavic languages in general, but coming as someone who'd never spoken anything like that, I mean, it was foreign. And then you get pregnant, you go through prenatal care, unable to understand anyone around you. It was a lot. And having a child is challenging enough.
You need a village at that point
Yeah,
in time, or
you do.
it's lonely.
It
It
is.
can be really lonely and isolating.
And I remember really that shift when I turned inward and I said, okay, I really, really need uh, people, people I can talk to. And I needed to express myself too. After you have children, this idea that you kind of lose your brain a little bit, brain fog. And I thought I will never be able to speak to adults ever again. So I started, actually, this is kind of funny. I don't think I ever told anyone this or said this out loud, but I used to listen to philosophy podcasts because I was a philosophy undergrad. So it was something close to my heart and I just needed that kind of stimulation. And so when I was changing diapers, I was listening to Philosophy Now and all these podcasts. And
It was your way of connecting to
yeah,
something that
yes,
was holding you to yourself, right?
100%. And then I started painting, and once I kind of dabbled, I mean, before I started painting, we were meeting with a bunch of other mothers, expats, and with small children, and we had a really tight knit group of friends, and we used to go to each other's houses, and then we started to get creative, not just meet for coffee, but like, oh, let's teach each other something. And that was brilliant. One taught decoupage, which I'd never done before, and I was like, oh, this is so fun. And it wasn't my every day, it wasn't something that I could see myself doing, but it got me thinking creatively. And I think that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because then when I started painting, that was it. I was addicted.
Mhm.
I would just, every free second I had, I ran over and, okay, fall asleep now, to my son, like, it's
Yeah.
time to go. It's time for me to go paint.
Just know what I need to do.
Yeah, I know what I need to do today. It's very important. And it truly, truly was, because without it, I don't know where I would be. I mean, it, and it's where I really developed my voice and my way, and all that energy that I've had all my life. It had a purpose,
Oh, I
It
know.
had,
When you talk about it, it's like, yes, yes, I
yes,
know. I know what you're talking about. And I have so many mentees who, they describe it to me and I'm like, I know.
I
Once
know
once
what
we
you're
get
talking
them
about.
all set up, like just like make a space for yourself. And yeah, they're like, it's all I can think about. I love my kids, don't get me wrong, but like, it's all I can think about is my time at night by myself.
Yes. Yes, and there shouldn't be any stigma around that, right? It should
No.
be the norm. It should be important for us to take care of ourselves. And as I've heard you say many times, it's so important to be that model for our children, for our communities. And yeah, for me, it's essential to my sanity, and it's essential to my being. And once I realized that it was my calling, oh my gosh, I just couldn't stop. And I don't think I ever will, because yeah, I'm really lucky. I have a very, very supportive husband, and he's a musician. And I think if I wouldn't have had him in the early stages, I probably wouldn't be where I am, because he always gave me permission to dig deeper and to follow those curiosities. And he nudged me, even, I would say, into them, to say, like, okay, this is important, right? Because people don't always say that. So if anybody's listening and you're not sure, it is important, and you need to do it, because it's just
even
so
if you
rewarding.
don't have that, like I have
Yes.
a really supportive partner, but the creativity like nudges and like why, definitely I think your partner understands more because they are a creative themselves.
Yes.
Mine likes hockey. So
A different kind of creativity.
he's like doesn't completely understand. So in your case, you had someone like pushing you further, but in my case, I had to be so stubbornly driven and just like, no, actually we are building 30 frames on the weekend, and you are going to help me and take the kids, and the exhibition is on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So that's that. And he just did it. But like,
Yeah.
okay,
But
even if you don't have that support, you
yeah.
can ask, and
Yes.
if they're not there, then
But I think it's also, in my case, it was a function of how I was coming to that moment. And, my entire life, my entire childhood, I was told I didn't have a creative bone in my body, that this wasn't for me. And so if I wouldn't have had that nudge, I never would have gotten over it, because I was conditioned to believe that this is not me, this is not who I am, even though everything in my body told me this is me and this is what I have to do. And so that lifetime of pushing it down and kind of denying myself, after I had kids, I said, like, I'm not denying anything anymore.
no.
I do what I want, and no one's gonna tell me
Because
no.
they take parts of you, right?
Yeah.
As beautiful and as motherhood is, and joyous, it's exhausting, and you need that tether, you need that like
Yes.
life rope to pull you to back to yourself.
100%.
And so I want to talk about like, upon finding your creativity and community, like what did you do to go beyond just doing it for yourself? Because I personally know what you've kind of done, but how did you move forward making extra connections and helping other women?
So within my own practice, I was lucky that I had my husband's connections around, let's say, because all of my friends were in other places. So I had this really supportive community of artists around me, surrealists, painters, all different types of energies, and visual and performing arts, and people who would come in, and my husband would bring them to my studio, and I would be so embarrassed, because I don't show them my insanity. This is like my thing. And he's like, no, 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 they have to see it. And letting people into the work showed me the importance of that, opening the door to community and getting feedback and having those conversations. And it just snowballed from there. And I wanted more and more. And so all of those people that I had naturally around me who were creative, and either painters or musicians, I started to say, hey, you guys should talk. You have this incredible thing going on, and I think it would be brilliant if you did it together. And so I started connecting people, and even packaging. A friend of mine who does graphic design with someone else, with an artist. It was just marrying all of these wonderful people together, and seeing what they could create. And I've always been like that. I've always been a true connector. People used to tell me that all the time. You need to do this as a job. You need to figure out how to make that your living, because it's something I love to do, and I just do it naturally. When I see the opportunities, I had a friend once tell me, you need to start taking a cut from all these like things that you're creating. I'm like, that's okay. I'm just happy that it's going, and that people can get together and make something amazing. And that for me is just gold right there. I'm just so excited about it. And so here locally, it started small. It was a handful of women who were not all mothers, but many mothers. And so I called this community that we started to create Mama Create. That was the first name for this. And we've undergone a few name changes, but it's from its infancy to now, it's now called Art Connect Society. And it's the women's collective inside of that. But we were also Art Moms Europe before. So we've gone through some name changes, but it's still the same.
You still started somewhere.
Yes, and it's just changing name.
Who was I listening to? Oh, because I'm obsessed with Jenna Kutcher. Jenna Kutcher's podcast, because it's about branding and marketing, essentially. Yeah. Lots of different things in there. But why I listen is because it has straightforward, direct lessons on marketing. And she's like, we have changed so much. We have changed so much that your first step in marketing is not your logo anymore. It's not your name. It's your message. It's what you're about. It's your story. It's your narrative. So fuck your logo. She didn't say fuck your logo, but I say fuck your logo. And if you have to change your name 30 times in there, who cares? It's what your heart is beating about. And it's what you're doing for other people and what drives it forward. What is the root of what you're trying to say? How are you helping others?
And everything is evolving.
That matters.
All communities evolve. You know, you try on some things, it doesn't fit. That's okay.
Yeah.
I wrote some poetry about that the other day. Sorry, I just came back to that. I was like, oh yes. It's actually, I prepared a special gift for anyone who comes to my show opening, which will be this coming Monday. I don't know when this will air, maybe after that, but it's my solo show.
I don't even know either.
That's all right.
I always, like, sometimes I'm like, I have an idea, and it releases the next day.
Yeah.
and then sometimes it's like a month or two later. So because I know podcasts are supposed to be like, I'm sure people are very methodical about them, but mine are also a creative outlet.
I'm like you.
Yeah, I know you're like me. It's like a sister on another continent.
In another time zone, a few days away, right?
Yeah. Yes, I looked up how to fly to you today, and it's not going to work.
Yes, it can work.
Not for now.
It's just going to take some coordination.
I don't like 16-hour flights with 2 stops. Yeah, right now. I did just go to New York, and that was a big step for me. So,
oh, that's nice. I've never been there, even though I'm a California girl, but I've never been to the East Coast.
Yeah, it was my second time. I went as an art student, and this time I went as an exhibiting artist. So it was like a big
PXP, amazing
step. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And that comes from community. That comes from being a part of a community. I was communicating with Kat and Alicia long before they started the membership, the Art Queens membership, because I found them on Instagram, and something told me that these women were like really special, and something was just like a little voice was like, these are your allies. These are the people who I didn't know they would support me to the amount they have supported me. And I didn't do it for that. I just thought, like, I've just felt some sort of connection because I had been like floundering for so long by myself as a female creative.
And I think it's really important to find that kind of community. We are both, part of the Art Queens, and I joined later than you did, but regardless, the connection, the way people support each other, it's very similar, I would say, to what I'm doing with our community, but different in the sense that we connect. We are in totally different places, and we're able to have this consistent connection online, in groups. And something that I'm trying to build is really, of course, there are online aspects, but I really value tangible connection and being able, of course, like we were talking about this before, I had the pleasure of meeting Paulina Ree, and she's just such an incredible person, female artist, Oslo. And there are people in other places who you can only connect to virtually initially, but to build those relationships, I mean, that's my advice to everyone, is do not shy away from building relationships with amazing people. Trust your gut and go for it, because you might end up in New York, exhibiting your work. You might end up in Oslo. They might end up here at my artist residency. I mean, the just the magic of connection is, I don't know.
Everyone's just, and everyone's afraid. So I
Yeah.
talk about this in my book, and it's called a Be Brave Day.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're having a Be Brave Day, because you just feel good. You feel like you can do anything. You're kind of like singing in the kitchen. When that kind of energy is flowing through you. So what you do is capitalize on that amazing energy, and you ask for things on those days. And you ask for so many things, and sometimes I ask for things and I forget, and then like 4 months later they're like, yes, Randy, we'd love that. And I was like, oh right, I forgot. Yeah. So on your days, and I've had actually people, because I've written about it, my book just came out, but I've written about it in like blog posts and social media, talked about it on the podcast, and I've gotten people reaching out, Brandy, this is my Be Brave Day, can I come on your podcast? I'd love to talk about this. And it's so cute and amazing. But I was so afraid to message who, I don't even know. It must have been Kat first. Like, I was really afraid. Like, I know it's a big step. It's scary, but sometimes Instagram hides messages, and like I get that all the time. Just whatever, that wasn't meant for you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why you do as many as you can. And like that person you thought about messaging, just do it, because the worst thing they can say is no, or not answer at all. And who
that's
cares?
okay.
Move on. That wasn't your path.
Yes. And that's so important, because to feel, and I know this is difficult, and I have a lot of good friends who've been struggling with this lately, the idea that they've been putting out so many possibilities and applying to so much, and then rejection. It's challenging, and it can be like that. So you got really lucky and you've had a lot of yeses lately, but someone might get a lot of no's.
14 years of no's.
And that's okay.
No, like, not all no's. I had some big,
no, of course,
that's not true. I had some big yeses in amongst the no's, but there were a lot.
And it's really easy to get overwhelmed by one no, even if it's one no, because a no it's hard and it's painful. But at the same time, we just need to process that and let it go, because as you know, as we all know, it's not meant for you, and that's okay. And maybe it'll come back around. Maybe it won't. Maybe you're meant for some different opportunity. Maybe you needed that free space to engage in this other opportunity, and that's okay too.
So, honor that.
Yes.
You have to. So important. As difficult as it can be, it's just trust in it. I don't know another way to describe it. Some things, and I'm not saying just give up on things either, and that's not what you're saying. Some things genuinely take longer.
Yeah.
I'm like a project I'm working on, and I can finally announce, is 130 foot, so 2,700 square feet, 130 foot by 20 foot high mural project, which is insane. Has just gotten approved, and it took almost, I think, 2 years from the idea of, hi, I'd love to fix your building, right? Which is essentially what it was, and what it grew into was something above and beyond what I had ever envisioned. And there were so many lessons in the process, and it was really challenging. But I would never give up the time and the energy for what it turned into. And it was something that it's truth and reconciliation is the subject matter. And it's important for a community and a people. And we have beautiful partnerships now. And of course, I'm going to start crying about it. But it has nothing to do with the mural, and everything to do with the people. And it took a long time to get to that spot. And sometimes, those ideas and those inklings can be a lot more challenging. However, you don't always, I've given up on some things, but not, this one was, if I hadn't moved forward with it, if I had given up, it would have never happened. So essentially that's what it came down to. And sometimes things fizzle out and they change, and people change too, and relationships change. And that is okay too, because that just wasn't, you were meant for something different and more, and you'll figure it out.
I could not agree with you more. Today I cried as well, Brandy. I really did. It was horrible. I was sitting in Starbucks and I was kind of like, no, this is not the time. Don't cry. But I was talking to a really amazing friend of mine, and we were just kind of talking about the journey. And she's such a supportive woman in my life, who always lifts me up, who's always shows up, every exhibition, every event. And, these are incredible people. But I was kind of bearing my soul to her today about everything that's going on in the world, and how overwhelming it feels for me. And, to know about the situation in Ukraine, and I just struggle to get out the door, because that's the truth. I find it really difficult. And especially, I've been teaching, I've been subbing in the high school here, art, sometimes. And I've been seeing students, just trying to process that. And, students that had come here from Ukraine, and to know that all of this is happening, and to have this connection with people who are in my life, who are really struggling with bigger things than what I am living, right? And for me, it just hits me so hard sometimes. And I was telling her about an opportunity which I did not expect, but I don't want to go into too much detail. But what I can tell you is that it will be something which will support Ukrainian artists, and be a work towards processing what's happening with the war, and giving them a voice to speak about that work that they will be creating. And for me, it's just, I'm like shaking talking about it. Don't cry. But it just feels like a natural evolution, and it's just so important, I think. So
to be where you're supposed to be to help other people.
Yeah. And to be able, even when things happened and we were able to offer like a physical home to a family of 9 people who were coming from Ukraine, and to be able to like hand them the keys and say, this is yours, stay here, and we don't want anything from you. I mean, to have that, it's just, I can't describe it, like the hug that, I can't talk about it, but.
No. And I'm in Canada, so we don't feel what's happening over there as much as you're feeling right now. And you are amazing and special. And that's what it takes, is people like you.
I don't think so. I think there's so many people doing amazing work, and I'm just, one person who helped one person,
But it's nothing big, but it means everything. It's huge. It's nothing big, but it's huge, because it means everything, right?
Yeah. And we all just have to do that one step, and things can be so, so different. And
I was telling my art academy yesterday, we do making space. So we start every day with 5 minutes of making space. So it's like silence, or I talk about something. And I specifically talked about, especially in this season, I was like, we can get so caught up in receive, receive, receive. What about giving? What can you give? That's not about money. That's not about a physical item. That is about, what can you give from yourself? And it's something as little as words, or your space, or your kindness. That is what matters in life. And that is one of the last notes that my mother left to me, was this is what matters in life, is saying thank you to people, is helping out in small ways, the ways that you can, helping out in the ways that you can. And so that is what life is about. It's helping out in any way you can. And I know it's confusing maybe for some people, but let me put it this way. I was listening to this Baby Steps Millionaire book guy, and he's so his thing is how to make $1 million, right? So he made $4 million, and then he lost it all. So this was his life lesson. He lost it all because he didn't do it right. He did it in the way of, bankrolling the terrible way, like realty bankroll. And he's like, and I felt terrible, and I lost everything, and it was terrible. And then I changed my life. And how do I do it? What's my biggest advice? And it's not about getting money. It's about living your fullest life. And how do you live your fullest life is by giving. That was his. Jay Shetty, I should know his actual, is that right? Jay Shetty, the biggest guru podcaster, ex-monk guy. He said, what is your number one advice? And he said, is to give as much as you can at every opportunity that you can. And that's how you live a full life. And I know it seems opposite of how you think you will grow as a person, and support all your dreams and like in not sounding a selfish way, but that is how you live a full life, is to give what you can when you can. And it works. It just does. And we are only here for a short time, so why not give it a go? And so, you know, maybe you don't have it and you think, I want to donate to this cause, but I don't have money, Brandy. I don't have money. You had a space. You had you have the ability to network. You have a gift for connecting people. That is what you're giving back, right? And so you see a problem happening. How can I help? That's a big fucking problem in the world right now. How can you help? And I know feeling helpless, but it just, whatever you can do.
And this is exactly what my friend told me today. She's like, but you were doing the one step. And I just kept saying, like, I feel like it's not enough. Like, the collective we is not doing enough, you know, enough towards something good and positive. And it does overwhelm me, but I think that we all have to take those tiny steps. And I know we are going to try, you know, together to make some steps as well. So
that is why we met today. And I will say more because I know you're like, how much do I have to keep a secret? I know all of it. So we actually have been chatting a while about, so we do annually, Like a Mother. Well, we just started. We were doing calls for art and exhibitions, but what I didn't want to just do a plain old call for art. Why I don't want to do a plain call for art is because it was great. And I actually made so many beautiful friendships. Actually, like, it was weird. It was call for art, putting on exhibitions, creating space for other female artists and allowing them an opportunity. But I didn't feel like it was big enough. I didn't feel like it was like, what was I looking for when I was an emerging artist, or when I was struggling, or when I felt alone? And yes, I did create connections, and I know some of those friendships carried on throughout after we put that on. So I know it was important, even though it was all I could do and it was small at the time. But how could I make this bigger? And so I reached out to Valentine and I said, like, I want to, so we're thinking about, and it's going to be for sure an art prize, and what that is, but we're going to do it for 2024 because we want it super awesome, the best it can be. And that's all I can tell you, because we want it to be more things, an exhibition, maybe online, but maybe a real one. So we haven't figured all that out yet, but it will be figured out as long as we can find a place. I want it to be a physical exhibition. I just don't want to travel for like 18 hours. So we'll figure it out, and it will be amazing and special, and I'm sure meaningful. And the idea is to help other women. So how can we best offer that helping hand to lift other women up from all around the world? Not just our communities, help our communities in any way we can, but how can we do our part? So we're figuring that out. And I just love hearing about everything you're doing. It is so special, and keep going. And I'm so happy that I have you as a friend, and we are a part of many groups. So there is, I'm always quoting my book because I wrote it. So like, it's always in my head. It's like my advice.
It's how you're expressing it. Yeah, definitely.
I put my advice in a book. So you can get the book if you want it all. But there is a lid for every pot. And everyone says that about relationships. But when I used it in terms of finding community, whether you're into coin collecting, whatever it is you're into, you can find a group in a collective and out there. Especially, it's easier now than it ever has been. And I was a part of, and I'm sure you have been a part of, groups that didn't quite fit. So that wasn't the lid for your pot. And you have to keep trying. And find your community and find those support systems and find those friendships. Because as we started this podcast, what did you say your mother taught you? Was
connection.
Yeah.
Women's
and
network.
The power of it.
It is. It's incredible what you can do together. And the key is to look right and left. And it's so easy to kind of skip over that and to think that, yeah, but I don't want to, or it's, I want to do my own thing. No, support each other, reach your hands out, because you are just so much more powerful together. And I really believe that. And I think that there are a lot of people who believe that. And we are in our, as you mentioned so many times, in our own small ways, making those small steps and making sure that we lift other people up. What can we do? Well, we can provide, I know I can't say much, but we can provide resources, and we can help provide resources for women and for mothers, and just to create those opportunities for connection and to lift up. And it's going to come together in a beautiful, beautiful, magical way. And if anybody out there has a beautiful space in mind, maybe someone will drop that our way as well, and can share with us and kind of guide us as well on our journey as we continue to develop. I think
we put it out there, so it's out there.
Yeah. 2024.
Everyone came home above my head, and my thing saying reducing noise because they're so loud.
I love
it. Yes, what was I going to say? Oh, yes. So I came, I've been doing this a decade of motherhood, at home artistry, etc. So I didn't monetarily have a lot to give. But what did I do is causes that were close to my heart, like our sexual assault services and trauma for women and stuff like that. What did I do is I took something that I hadn't made the money yet, but I said, this is that. And if I sell all these prints, all the proceeds will go here. So you don't have to have it necessarily. You just have to have the idea of something. Yes. And then it just like grows into what it's supposed to be. Similarly with, I can't say exactly yet what I'm doing, but I will have the opportunity to donate an insane amount of money next year. And everyone will hear on the podcast in the future what that will be from Brandy Hofer Studios back into trauma programming, directly into my community. So again, I don't know exactly how it happened, but what I can tell you is give at every chance you have, because it can grow into something beyond what you ever envisioned or imagined. And it started with reading Jen Sincero and her You're a Badass at Making Money. It started with that. It started with me like hiding my book. From that book. I was super pregnant and like waddling around, and like I had this tattered written in book, and I had terrible money mindset. Not bad. Money's always been there for me, but just like the perfect amount that I needed.
Yeah.
So I'm like subconsciously very good at just having enough, but I wanted more because I wanted to do more. So I read her book recommendations in the back. I read all those books. Like, okay,
a partner in crime there.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Teddy. Yeah. So it all starts with, the mindset, the research, the resources, the community. It all matters, and it'll grow what it's supposed to grow into. Oh, he's been sick. It's been.
I have to plug my book. So today we are Mona and I are sending out. So Mona from Art Moms and myself from Art Connect, we are going to be sending out this incredible book to the artists. So we've sent them the PDF. Hopefully by the time this recording is done, it will be in their hands. I've sent it to her. She's sending it off to the artists. And today, I hope we'll be able to click publish on everything and send it out into the world. It's called Painting Our World. And you're going to be just uplifted by incredible artist voices in this book. Almost coming close to 50 artists from all around the world, sharing incredibly powerful stories of how they made it work, how they're making it work, how they're doing it, because that's really helpful for all of us. So it's going to be it is beautiful. And I hope you'll all be able to check that out. It'll be available on Amazon, hopefully by the time that this episode airs.
No, it will. I'll wait until it's available. The link will be in the podcast notes, and you can click right on it and get this amazing special book. I will definitely be getting it.
Thank you.
Because it starts with other people's stories. Other people have done these things, not in the way you will, but other people have done these, and they're carving the path for you.
And there's so much to learn. So much to learn. That knowledge and sharing.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I just wanted to say that the knowledge and sharing between, I've had just such good luck, Brandy, with 4 incredible artists who I always mention. Well, I'd say myself as one. We are a group of 4 who has just been so supportive in my life. Isadora Stowe.
Mommy. Gus will be home soon, yeah?
When?
3 o'clock.
So there's Isadora Stowe, Ellen Bergen, and Mariana Jimenez Edwards, and they have just been there. We talk almost daily, and we're just in community with one another in a way that's, as if we would be sisters in arms and together. And this is the kind of stuff that is real, and you can have it too if you just. It takes a willingness to shed the vulnerabilities and to be really yourself, to find people who you can connect with, right? And
you're right. It starts with yourself.
Yes. So number 1 is just trust who you are and show up as yourself and dig into what you want to share and how you want to share it, because it's beautiful, it's worthy. And my catchphrase is do it anyway, because honestly, why not? Do it anyway. It scares you, do it. You're not sure what it's going to bring, do it. If it lights a fire in you, do it.
Amazing. Thank you. That's such great advice. And it does actually, so before you go out, just like trying to find all your people, you have to kind of know who you are too. You have to love yourself and honor yourself. And that I think before I was able to give, I had a lot of, and that's why it took longer than I wanted it to.
The funny thing is,
because of all the work that I had to overcome mentally, to get to that place of self-worth. Like why don't I deserve opportunities? Why can't I donate like these other corporations? Why can't I? Like, it's because you have to love yourself first.
Yeah. And it's a really beautiful thing. The Art Sisters podcast is something that I've created with my really good friend, singer-songwriter, Christy Lee. And together, coming from the visual and performing arts, putting it together, also from the 20-somethings to the 40, having these different perspectives and putting it together, it's so, so important. So it's just another place that you can tap into for this. It's important for us to kind of make sure that we're being mindful of we talk about this a lot on the Art Sisters podcast, because my partner is 22 and she is still trying to figure out what does she really want, in this stage of life. So I think
it's hard in your 20s.
Yeah. And
I would never want to be back in my 20s, to be honest.
I would like a rewind if I could go back and do the exact same path, but with the new lens, maybe
with your knowledge and power and like. Yes.
And that's, that's a space where exactly that people are constantly giving her advice to, because it's beautiful and it's not preachy, but at the same time, it's so important for people to share and to acknowledge that journey takes time.
Yeah.
And that you have to put in the work. As you said, how many years have you been going it as an artist? And it takes time. It takes time to know yourself so well that you do attract and connect with and open yourself up to those possibilities. So just keep going.
Yes, just keep going. Exactly. I'm going to go because Teddy's, he's not doing so bad. He's taking the tape off the paper we've stretched. So nothing's ripped. It looks good.
My husband just peeked his head in as well. Yeah. I kind of lost my train of thought there towards the end.
Limited time. We always have a limited time as mothers. It's like, our time's up now, I guess.
I'm glad I came back to what I actually wanted to say. So I hope that makes sense for everyone. But
go check out the Artist Sisters podcast. What did you say?
Art Sisters
Art
podcast.
Sisters, there,
And
not
it's,
artists. Art
myself
Sisters
and
podcast.
Christy Lee. And
Yeah.
that beautiful intro that you'll hear is all her. She recorded that. It's beautiful. And you can check her out on Spotify. If you look up Christy Lee Spinning, her EP is called Becoming Memories. It's beautiful. I listen to it all the time. My kids request it.
Oh, I'll have to listen to her.
Yeah.
And I want to come on that podcast and meet her.
Yes, we have it planned.
Oh, great. Perfect.
Yay. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you. And where can everyone find all your all your information?
Well, I've got a lot. No. You can follow me at Bella Valentina Art. Bella Valentina Art. And my kind of rebranded overarching organization for visual and performing arts is called Art Connect Society. And that's the website as well, www.artconnectsociety.com. And within that, you'll find our women's organization, which is basically the organization we were talking about before, which is the substructure of Art Connect Women. And within that, we have a more localized collective as well, and an artist residency. We have directory, just lots of opportunities. So stay tuned and plugged in, and look forward to bringing Brandy all the way over here one of these days.
Just keep saying it.
Yeah. That long flight. We're gonna make you do it. Don't worry. I just don't know when yet, but we'll definitely get there.
Yeah. With or without my family, I'm not sure. Long flight with my family sounds like the biggest nightmare in the world, but it might. We maybe stop along the way. That wouldn't make it so bad.
You can stop and visit Paulina in Oslo, or someone in London.
That would be cool.
You got plans?
My partner's never been off of North America, so he's never had the chance.
You have to do it.
Yeah, it would be cool. Okay, you have an amazing Friday and weekend, and it was so good to chat with you and catch up, and we'll talk very soon.
Sounds amazing. I can't wait.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you so very much for being here. I sure do appreciate it. Remember, you can reach out anytime. Feel free. Happy to chat. And you are welcome to join our Color Me Happy community. It is free, and it's full of beautiful, beautiful, kind, amazing, kind people. And also, I'm super excited to announce that we have a new website up in the works for February. And it will be way better, more organized. Obviously, I'm busy and still healing, and I'm not the best at making websites, so I feel like I should just pay someone to do it, and I am. So no shame there. And I'm really excited. There'll be the sketchbook project still there, so that's free for anyone who's new to join, and all our original artwork will be organized, and that makes more sense, not just to me as an artist with my creative brain, but to the general person. So the average person, organized in a great way, and lots of upcoming great projects to share. So check that out in February. I guess we're not there yet. brandyhofer.ca, and thank you so much for being here, and thank you to our sponsors, Red Bicycle Communications, Nouveau Laser and Aesthetic Center, and Oasis Hot Yoga and Spin Studio. Have the most beautiful day, friend, and remember, take care of yourself. Self-care first. If there's anything that you can take away from what I talked about at the beginning of this episode, is nothing else is going to fall into place if you don't practice those basic foundational routines of your day where you're meeting all of your needs, and then you can meet everyone else's needs, and so on and so forth. And again, you can find that all in our brand new book. Super proud of it. Lots of amazing positive feedback coming in there. So, all right. I will say goodbye. Bye. If you're looking for some time for yourself to relax, release, and unwind, Oasis has the perfect space for you. They offer yoga and spin classes of all levels. Whether you are a beginner or advanced student, Oasis thrives on accommodating all aspects of the practice. Let their serene environment and gracious staff help you in your journey of peace, healing, and strength. Sign up online at www.oasishotyogastudio.com or by downloading the Oasis Hot Yoga Studio app. Feel like yourself. You deserve it.